Live from the 412, it's Platt's point of view, y'all. Let's go. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Platt, and this is Platt's point of view, the 2022 college football preview show. I'm so excited about college football this season. Yes, it's going to be popcorn worthy. Get your popcorn ready. The 2022 college football season kicks off August 27th with week 0. Week 1 will kick off September 1st and end September 5th. So let's get right to it. Here's my college football top 10. At number 10, the Pitt Panthers. Can USC transfer Keaton Slovis pick up where Kenny Pickett left off? Number 9, the Oregon Ducks. Their first game versus Georgia, that's going to tell us a lot, period. Number 8, the Michigan Wolverines. They're going to have a quarterback battle between Cade McNamara and J.J. McCarthy, and that's pretty much going to determine how far the Wolverines go this season. Number 7, Oklahoma State. Quarterback Spencer Sanders returns to lead a high-powered Cowboy offense. Number 6, Texas A&M. They have an elite recruiting class the last couple years. They're getting LSU transfer quarterback Max Johnson. His dad is former NFL quarterback Brad Johnson. He comes to College Station after throwing 27 touchdowns last season at LSU. Should be interesting. Number 5, Utah. Quarterback Cameron Rising and running back Tavian Thomas form a nice 1-2 punch for the Utes. Yeah. Number 4, Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. New head coach Marcus Freeman, he comes to South Bend with a reputation as a very relentless recruiter. But the Irish, they got a tough schedule. Games at Ohio State. They play BYU in Las Vegas. At USC, they got a home game against Clemson. So this season should be interesting in South Bend. Number 3, Alabama. The Crimson Tide have 2 of the best players in the country. Quarterback Bryce Young, outside linebacker Will Anderson. Number 2, Ohio State. This team is loaded with talent, but they got to improve on defense. The Buckeyes gave up 87 points their last 2 games. So we should see what happens with that. And number 1, the Georgia Bulldogs. The Bulldogs finally beat Alabama when it counted. My thing is, can quarterback Stetson Bennett answer the bell now with expectations being at an all-time high for the Bulldogs? That's my top 10. Next up, these are 10 players to watch in college football, plus a couple other guys. We're going to start with cornerback Kelly Ringo from Georgia. This kid is known for getting the game-sealing pick 6 in the national championship game versus Alabama last season. At 6'2", 205 pounds, his size and speed allows him to match up with any wide receiver in the game. He's a very explosive cornerback. He's one of the leaders of the Georgia defense. I like him a lot. Next, we got offensive tackle Connor Galvin out of Baylor. At 6'7", 310 pounds, Galvin is the leader of one of the most experienced and productive offensive lines in the country last season. Galvin played in over 400 snaps without allowing 1 sack. Marvelous, marvelous. Next up, you got middle linebacker Noah Sewell out of Oregon. He's Penei Sewell's little brother. Some say the best middle linebacker in college football. Sewell has done nothing but live up to his 5-star rating. Last season, he finished with 159 total tackles, 6 sacks, 1 enter, 3 forced fumbles. This guy's the heart and soul of Oregon's defense and one of the best playmakers in college football. Yeah, get familiar. Next up, outside linebacker Andre Carter II out of Army. 15 and a half sacks last season. At 6'7", 260 pounds, this kid is a freak of nature. He's definitely going to be the highest drafted academy player of the Super Bowl era and Army's first NFL draft pick since 2008. Carter is a terrifying presence. He's explosive with a knack. He got a knack for time and snap counts and blunt pass blockers with a very quick first step. Y'all better get familiar with Andre Carter, man. He's going to be tough. Next up, local kid. D lineman, Kalijah Kancey out of Pitt. He's an animal. One of the premier defensive linemen in the country. I mean, he's a little bit undersized, but who cares because he overpowers bigger offensive linemen with effort and a nonstop motor that I love. He had 13 tackles for loss last season, 7 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 35 total tackles. Kancey is also on the Walter Camp Player of the Year watch list. And he was first team All-ACC last season. This guy's going to be a game wrecker. Next, you got Caleb Williams out of Oklahoma. He transferred to USC this season. Last season, though, at Oklahoma, he took over for Spencer Rattler. He played in the final 7 games, throwing for 20 touchdowns. He was named second team preseason All-American last year. He threw for over 1,900 yards, 21 touchdowns, 4 enters. He completed 64% of his passes and also rushed for 400 yards, averaging 5 yards a carry. Williams is a rising sophomore with a lot of talent around him this upcoming season. I expect a big season from Williams. Next guy is running back Deuce Vaughn out of Kansas State. This kid is only standing 5'6", 175 pounds, but Vaughn is probably college football's most exciting player to watch. Last season, Vaughn ran for over 1,400 yards, 6 yards a carry, 18 touchdowns. He also had over 460 yards receiving with 4 receiving touchdowns. Expect the Deuce to be loose all season. That little dynamo can go. Next up, another local guy, quarterback Phil Jurkovec out of Boston College. I really think this Pittsburgh native is going to have a breakout season. After transferring from Notre Dame, he had a solid first year at Boston College, and then he just got hurt, unfortunately, in the season opener last year. He missed about 6 games, and he clearly wasn't himself when he returned. So, Jurkovec has his top wide receiver and running back returning with him. If Phil Jurkovec can stay healthy, Boston College is going to shock a lot of people. We got Mike Tomlinson up there too. Dino Tomlin, man. Good luck to those guys. Hopefully catch some bombs from Jurkovec. Next up, you got outside linebacker Nolan Smith out of Georgia. This former number 1 overall player in the 2019 recruiting class had a nice season last year, and he should build off of that. Smith had 53 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 1 enter, 3 forced fumbles. This kid is an excellent run defender who should improve as a pass rusher. He's probably Georgia's most important player on defense. I love this guy right here. Wide receiver Jackson Smith and Jigba out of Ohio State. This kid has elite talent. He led Ohio State in catches and receiving yards last season. And guess what? They had 2 wide receivers that was drafted in the first round. So that just tells you how talented this kid is. Once again, his Rose Bowl performance, it was just simply amazing if you didn't see it. 15 catches, 347 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns against Utah. Smith and Jigba is the truth, I'm telling you. Next up, how about Josh Downs, North Carolina? All this kid did was catch 101 passes last year for over 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns. The knock on him is he's only 5'9", but guess what? He's productive and he makes plays, period. Other players to watch, how about Coastal Carolina quarterback Grayson Allen? He was a 2-time Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Year. He's no slouch. He come in completing 71% of his passes, man. Keep an eye on Coastal Carolina with him under the helm. Next up, you got Antonio Johnson out of Texas A&M. This physical safety, he blew up a lot of plays last year and held his own covering wide receivers and tight ends in the slot. He's rangy with good instincts. Don't forget the name. Last but not least, DeJuan Jones, offensive tackle out of Ohio State. 6'8", 355 pounds with a 7'5" wingspan. Are you kidding me? He was decent last season, especially in the run game. He's very athletic, and he even had a few Division I offers for basketball. So that just show you how talented he is. He should be even better this season. Now, these guys right here, these are my impact freshmen. All these guys are going to make an impact. Let's start with defensive end outside linebacker Caden Curry, 250 pounds. He's going to Ohio State. He's already at Ohio State this year. You want to know how good Curry was, how good Curry is? Coming out of Center Grove High School in Greenwood, Indiana, Curry was rated the 2nd best player in the state. He's a 4-star recruit. He finished his high school career with 290 tackles, 83.5 tackles for loss, 28 sacks. He won back-to-back state titles. Curry is a versatile defensive lineman. He could play DN. He could play in the interior. This kid has a ton of upside, and I look for him to contribute for the Buckeyes early and often. Next, you got a defensive tackle, Travis Shaw. 6'6", 340 pounds. He's going to North Carolina. He's the #1 ranked player in North Carolina. Shaw is an imposing presence. He has a chance to be the centerpiece for the North Carolina Tar Heel defense this season. His high school career, he had 180 total tackles, 62 tackles for loss, 17 sacks in just 39 games played. Shaw, he'll probably play nose tackle mostly, but he's athletic enough he could play anywhere on the D-line. A lot of scouts, they comparing to Albert Haynesworth and Akeem Hicks. If Shaw can put it all together, look for him to be a high NFL draft pick in the next few years. There's another guy like running back Nick Singleton, 6 feet, 210 pounds. He's going to Penn State. Nick Singleton is a big play running back with some skills. He ran a 10.89 in 100 meters, so his speed is excellent. He's a slashing running back with home run ability. Singleton had over 6,300 yards rushing at Governor Mifflin High School. He graduated high school early to enroll at Penn State and participate in winter and spring workouts. And guess what? He impressed the coaching staff with his work ethic. They like him. I expect big things from Nick Singleton this year in Happy Valley in years to come. This kid right here, wide receiver Aaron Anderson, 5'9", 180. He's going to Alabama. This speedy, dynamic wideout can do it all. Look for Alabama to use Anderson in the slot and as a returner in special teams. Some scouts, some people, they compare him to Jalen Waddle. He was a two-sport star in high school. He's a standout in track. He ran a 10.77 in the 100 meters. Anderson should be a household name by mid-season. This guy's fast. And last but not least, how about cornerback, wide receiver Travis Hunter, Jackson State, 6'1", 175. This kid is the #1 overall recruit in the 2022 class. He's a very gifted athlete, and his talent was on display as he basically dominated the Jackson State spring game. He had an interception, he had a few highlight reel catches, and he'll play on both sides of the ball for Jackson State, and he should put up numbers every game. I think Travis Hunter is going to be special. Now let's move on to the local teams locally, Pitt, Penn State, and West Virginia. Let's start with the Pitt Panthers. Pitt last season finished 11-3, 7-1 in the ACC. They lost to Michigan State in the Peach Bowl. The Pitt Panthers return a whole lot of starters on offense and defense. USC transfer quarterback Keaton Slovis replaces Kenny Pickett, and all eyes will be on him this season. And don't sleep on Slovis. He's very accurate. He threw 58 touchdowns in just 27 games at USC. As far as Pitt's defense, the D-line is loaded, so the pass rush should be dominant again. The linebackers are solid. Savassier Dennis is the heart and soul of the Pitt defense. And the secondary is pretty tight too, man. They got Williams and a couple other guys back there. Eric Hallett, ACC MVP of the championship game. So Pitt should be in the ACC title hunt again, and I don't see much of a drop-off this season. Player to watch for Pitt, you ask? Wide receiver Kanate Muntfield, 6'1", 180. Akron, he transferred from Akron. Muntfield was one of the best wide receivers available in the transfer portal. As a freshman last season at Akron, he had 63 catches, 751 yards, and 8 touchdowns. He was second-team All-MAC, first-team freshman All-American. Muntfield is a talented, productive wide receiver who should ease the loss of Biletnikoff winner Jordan Addison. I think Muntfield is going to shock a lot of people. My prediction for Pitt, they finish 10-2 and go to another bowl game. Next up, the West Virginia Mountaineers. West Virginia last season, they finished 6-7. They were 4-5 in the Big 12, and they lost to Syracuse in the Cheez-It Bowl. The Mountaineers are searching for their first 7-win season since 2018. The defense has a pretty good amount of speed, especially on the D-line led by Dante Stills, one of the best interior pass rushers in college football. Offensively, enter Georgia quarterback transfer J.T. Daniels. Daniels is a big-time passer who should help elevate the WVU passing game. They also added offensive coordinator Graham Harrell, so expect a lot of big plays in the passing game. West Virginia lost over half his starters from last year's team. The secondary has very few players with experience. So with that being said, my prediction for the West Virginia Mountaineers, they'll finish 6-6, just enough wins to be bowl eligible. Player to watch for the West Virginia Mountaineers, you ask? Wide receiver Jeremiah Aaron, 6 feet 190. He's a JUCO transfer out of Navarro Community College. Aaron is a playmaking wide receiver with speed to burn, and he's a solid route runner. At Navarro Community College, he had 4 touchdowns of 60 yards. 2 of them were from 95 yards out, so you can tell he's explosive. Aaron should help out on special teams also. He was an All-American kick returner at Navarro Community College. He averaged 24 yards per return, and he ran back 1 kick return. Next up, Penn State. Last season, the Nittany Lions finished 7-6. They were 4-5 in the Big Ten, and they lost to Arkansas in the Relia Quest Bowl. Quarterback Sean Clifford returns with a lot of experience. 33 starts over the past 3 seasons. Head coach Franklin is a heck of a recruiter, and he has a lot of talent. Penn State should be able to compete in every game this season, which should bode well for Penn State. But check this out. Penn State is 11-11 in its last 22 games. Maybe if they stay healthy, get a few calls to go their way, a little bit of luck from the football gods, maybe it can get the Nittany Lions from a mediocre team to a 9 or 10 win team this upcoming season. My prediction, 7-5 for the Penn State Nittany Lions, 7-5. Player to watch for Penn State, you ask? Cornerback Joey Porter Jr. Yep, that's Joey Porter's son. 6'2", 195. He's a veteran cornerback. He's 3rd team All-Big Ten the last 2 seasons. Porter Jr. is on the verge of a breakout season. I got a funny feeling he's solidifying himself. He's going to try to solidify himself as a top NFL cornerback prospect. Last year in 13 starts, Porter Jr. had 51 tackles, 40 solo tackles, 1 enter, and 4 pass breakups. I like Joey Porter Jr. a lot, man. Good luck. Next up, let's talk about Platts College Football's impact transfers. The transfer portal has changed college football. It's basically college football free agency. Teams are getting players and losing players left and right every day. Over 2,000 players have entered the transfer portal this offseason. Wow. Here's my top impact transfers. Let's start with running back Jahmyr Gibbs from Georgia Tech going to Alabama this season. He's 5'11", 208 pounds. Gibbs is a multi-purpose running back. He can line up at wide receiver or be a receiving threat out of the backfield. He's solid running between the tackles. And last season at Georgia Tech, he rushed for over 700 yards, 4 touchdowns. He averaged 5 yards a carry. And he also ran back a kick, too. But when he got to Alabama this year in their spring game, he had a 75-yard run showing off his speed and big play ability. I think Gibbs runs for over 1,000 yards and has about 400 yards receiving. By season's end, he will be the best running back in the SEC, Jahmyr Gibbs, Alabama. Next, another guy like quarterback Cameron Ward. He transferred from Incarnate Word to Washington State. 6'2", 218 pounds. This quarterback, Cam Ward, he won the Jerry Rice Award last year as the best freshman in FCS football, basically formerly 1AA football, if you were wondering. He threw for over 4,500 yards, 47 touchdowns. He completed 65% of his passes in 13 games. There's a lot of buzz surrounding Ward since he transferred to Washington State. I know one thing, he quickly took command of Washington State's air raid offense this past spring, showing poise, accuracy, good decision-making with a cannon arm. Cam Ward is one of the more intriguing players heading into this college football season, man. Pay attention, y'all. Next up, you got cornerback Eli Ricks. He previously went to LSU. This season, he transferred to Alabama. 6'2", 190 pounds. This cornerback Ricks is a tall, physical corner with some skills. At LSU, he was a freshman All-American, 2nd team All-SEC. He had 31 tackles, 6 pass breakups, 5 enters. Ricks can run with wide receivers and create turnovers. Right now, Ricks is rated as a top 5 cornerback for the 2023 NFL Draft. Ricks definitely has the potential to be the next elite cornerback from Alabama. Next up, this kid, man, he's had a lot of hoopla over the last year. Quarterback Quinn Ewers from Ohio State to Texas, 6'3", 190 pounds. This highly touted phenom was at Ohio State first. He played in 2 games, took 2 snaps, both handoffs and blowout wins. Ewers decided to transfer to Texas, his home state, and the school he had originally committed to out of high school. Ewers is a pro-style quarterback with mobility and a very live arm. This kid throws darts on the run. And he's already cashed in on NIL deals reportedly worth $1.4 million. He has a clean Ashton Martin to show for it, too. Now I expect him to cash in and become Texas starting quarterback September 3rd versus Louisiana Monroe. All eyes will be on Quinn Ewers all season. Next up, you got wide receiver Antoine Wells. Last season he was at James Madison, which is an FCS school. He's transferring to South Carolina. 6'1", 200-pound wide receiver. Wells pretty much dominated the competition at the FCS level last season. He finished with 1,250 yards receiving, 15 touchdowns, both James Madison single-season records. South Carolina quarterback Spencer Rattler, he likes this kid a lot, and he loves his work ethic as they've worked out in the spring, and they're trying to develop chemistry on and off the field. Keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on that duo. Next up, Jordan Addison from Pitt to USC. The Biletnikoff Award winner last season decided to leave Pitt for USC due to NIL opportunities worth millions of dollars. He'll team up with Caleb Williams, head coach Lincoln Riley. And Williams put up numbers without Addison last season. So just imagine what they can do now with Addison. USC now has a game breaker at wide receiver, and it should be exciting. I can't wait. So next up, we got 2022 college football must-see games this fall. Let's start with Alabama at Texas, September 10th in Austin, Texas. This is an early season marquee matchup between 2 college football powerhouses at one of college football's best venues. There's going to be a whole lot of NFL potential talent on display in this game, from Alabama quarterback Bryce Young and outside linebacker Will Anderson to Texas running back Bijan Robinson, 5-star quarterback Quinn Ewers, and wide receiver Xavier Worthy, who's a beast. Get your popcorn ready. Get your popcorn ready. Next up, USC at Utah, October 15th. The winner of this game has a chance to be the Pac-12's first team in the college football playoffs since 2016. Utah returned 17 starters. I know USC, they'll be led by Caleb Williams and his elite cast of characters. So, yeah, that should be a good one, too. Next up, how about Michigan, Ohio State, November 26th. This game's always good. Head coach Jim Harbaugh, Michigan head coach, he proved doubters wrong last season. Michigan ended an 8-game losing streak to Ohio State, and they made the college football playoffs for the first time after winning the Big Ten title. Michigan's roster, though, they won't have the luxury of having pass rushers Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo. They're off to the NFL. Ohio State, they're going to be looking for revenge that game. I know for a fact the Buckeyes have that game circled on their calendar, and I can't wait to watch it. Next up, Pitt, West Virginia, September 3rd. Backyard Brawl. The Backyard Brawl is back, finally, after an 11-year hiatus. These 2 teams stopped playing each other when West Virginia left the Big East for the Big 12 in 2012, and Pitt left for the ACC in 2013. Pitt finished last season as ACC champs, and they had a berth at the Peach Bowl. Pitt should be a good team again this season despite losing Jordan Addison, who's college football's best wide receiver. The stakes won't be as high like they were in 2007 when Pitt beat West Virginia, shattering their national championship hopes. The atmosphere is going to be electric. It's going to be a lot of energy regardless. These games are exciting, and rivalries like this, it shows everybody and it shows people why college football is must-see TV in the fall. Stay tuned. Talk about Heisman Trophy. My Heisman Trophy winner will be Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud. I look for Stroud to build off an excellent red shirt freshman season. He was one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the country. He was top 5 in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and QBR. This kid also brings back the best group of wide receivers in the country, Marvin Harrison Jr. and those guys, Fleming, Smith, and Jigba. I expect big numbers from him. A college football playoff berth, and a Heisman Trophy for C.J. Stroud. He's going to be the Heisman Trophy winner. My 4 college football playoff teams, I like Ohio State, I like Alabama, Georgia, and I think USC, man, with all this firepower, I think they're going to be in the college football playoff. And the national champ will be the Ohio State Buckeyes will win the national championship. I think they'll improve their defense. Head coach Ryan Day is going to have them ready, and they'll be turned to the max, man. I look for C.J. Stroud to just explode, especially if they beat Michigan. They're going to be the national champs, in my opinion, and I think C.J. Stroud is going to carry these guys, and they'll be the national champs, like I said. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Platt's Point of View, the college football edition, and we'll see you next time on Platt's Point of View. Have a good one, y'all. Out.